Hey, what's up everyone? Dusk here, and chances are if you're watching this video, you're curious about my Valorant settings. Look no further because this video will have every single setting I use. Here are my abilities. For my updraft, I use F. And for my ults, I use my mouse button. I also have scroll wheel on jump. I have it on spacebar and on scroll wheel. If you just have it on scroll wheel, you won't be able to float with jet. Other than that, I don't really change anything else. Here's my equipment. I play toggle. I'm personally better at toggle, but if you're better at using hold, you should use hold. I highly recommend you guys don't cycle your weapons with your scroll wheel. I personally have those things off. I drop my weapon with V, and I use my last equipped item with Q. So for example, if I'm opping, when I click Q, I'm able to switch from my op to my knife. And I also don't prioritize strongest weapon, but that's all personal preference. If this helps you out, you should definitely have it on. As for my inspect, I use T, and as for my use object, I use G. Also, I have my scroll wheel down to use the spray. So for example, when I hit a really nice clip, I look down and then I hit scroll wheel down. It's all for style points. You guys really don't need this last one. For my communication, I don't change anything. I've only changed the top two. My party voice is my bottom mouse button, like the side, and my top is my team chat, like the ones I talk to strangers with. As for general, right now I'm playing on a little slower sense, but I'll list a couple of senses that I play. But for now, I play 800 DPI, 0.387, scoped sensitivity multiplier at 1. I like having my map rotating because whenever it's fixed, I get confused as to what I'm looking at. And I also don't like keeping my players centered because if my player isn't centered, I'm able to see more of the map. A big mistake newer players have is that their map is too small or too zoomed in, and you need to make it so that you can get as much information as possible, so you should take the zoom out a little bit. Anywhere between like 0.8 to 0.86 is really good. As for everything else, that's just like streamer mode stuff, and I also play right hand. I don't have the corpses. A dead body can actually get you killed, so I highly recommend you turn that off. I don't have bullet tracers on because that's how it was in Counter-Strike. I feel like when you do have bullet tracers on, you're so focused on where your bullets are going instead of just trying to kill the enemy. I think that's it. Feel free to copy everything else. And here are my crosshairs. I really don't use that many crosshairs. I try to keep my crosshairs relatively simple, relatively the same, and I just use crosshairs from pros that I really enjoy watching. Oh, also, when someone says a number like 1520, 1313, 1622, 1422, that just means inner lines. Unless otherwise stated, if someone says 4 arbitrary numbers, always just refers to the inner lines. And the next part that's really important is whether the outlines are off or on. So obviously I have the 10s crosshair. It's just 1422, outlines off, and yeah, I'm just gonna scroll down. The next crosshair is the CNED crosshair. He's an insane opper from Ascend. Him and I have a very similar style of gameplay, so I really used this crosshair for a long time. I highly recommend this crosshair, and a lot of people tell me it's also a Minecraft crosshair, so it's just 1520. You can also change it to like 1620. This next crosshair is J1's crosshair, or Sinatra's crosshair. It's 1313 outlines on. He also plays 1213 outlines on. Ethos also uses this crosshair. It's a really good crosshair that you've seen in all of my videos. So the dot crosshair actually doesn't have 4 numbers. As you can see, the inner lines are off and the outer lines are off. The only thing you need to worry about for the dot crosshair is having the center dot on, having the center dot opacity to 1, and I play dot size 3. Everything else you really don't need to worry about. Also, the colors I tend to play are cyan, white, red, and yellow. Oh, and on that same note, my enemy highlight color is yellow. As for my aim down sight, I always try to use dot size 3. For my sniper scope size, I try to make it smaller, and I try to make it white. As for my video settings, I limit everything, and the only thing I really touch is my FPS. These are my video settings. I play everything on low, except for anti-aliasing. I put that at 2x. As for my stats, I hide everything. I know a lot of people have their FPS on, but if you have your FPS on, sometimes you're so fixated on your FPS. For example, if you lose a gunfight and it feels laggy even though it wasn't, you're gonna start looking at your FPS the entire game, and it's gonna get you killed a lot. You should just have everything off. If you have everything off, you're not gonna worry about the game. The only time you should really have your FPS on is if you want to see how much FPS you actually get. But other than that, it really doesn't matter. Having things like that on will get you killed. As for my audio settings, I don't really have anything changed. For the incoming volume, I kind of have it on the lower side because a lot of people have really loud mics. That's my Valorant settings. As for my collections, I have a couple of collections. This is my red collection. Here's my blue collection. With my blue collection, I actually changed my knife a lot. I used the katana, I used the jet knife. I also use the Karambit. And yeah, this is my yellow collection. I don't really play this collection too much. For the most part, I just stick to blue and red. As for my desktop settings, a lot of my settings and optimizations are actually from this guy named Evux. Evux has a very thorough guide. It's like 40 minutes long. I sat through it, I copied everything, and it really optimized my computer. I would highly recommend you guys go watch Evux's video, but for the purposes of mine, I'm just gonna show you a couple of tweaks that I personally did. For example, I go into Nvidia control panel. I'm gonna scroll down slowly. And then you also go to adjust image settings and try to make this at performance over quality. I would tell you guys to also turn off your Xbox game bar, turn this off, turn game mode on, and then in the graphics settings, I would also recommend you to add Valorant. Here's the directory, and make it so that prioritize high performance. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's going to be linked on my Twitch, and hopefully it answers every single question that a lot of viewers have, and expect a lot more content from me.